Hi, this is Cryptonomics. Today I'm going to talk about Bitcoin price. So how will Bitcoin price play out in this year? This year, I mean 2022. What is the future going to be like for Bitcoin? Right? So I think there are going to be two scenarios, fundamentally two scenarios. Right? So scenario one is that Bitcoin will continue to behave like a tech stock, just like Apple, Microsoft, or Google, right? So basically a tech stock. So if the entire stock market do well, Bitcoin will do well. There will be excess liquidity that's flowing into the cryptocurrency market. So if the tech stocks, right? So like a Nasdaq, or generally the small stock market, for example, or Dow Jones, right? If they don't do well, Bitcoin Bitcoin is not going to do well. So Bitcoin is going to follow the stock market very, very closely. It's going to have a high correlation with the stock market as it has been in the past 2-3 years, right? So that is scenario one. But there's going to be another scenario two, which I think is more likely. So what is the other scenario? Right? The other scenario is that Bitcoin will actually to diverge away from the stock market. Okay, why do I think so? The reason is the ongoing Ukraine military crisis. Right? This ongoing Ukraine military crisis, it looks like it's not going to end very soon, to be honest, right? So we see that it's going to get prolonged, right? So uh, so this will have two effects, right? The first effect is that we have this regional conflict that has a global implication because Europe, US, Russia, there are a lot of stakes here in this conflict. It's not just about what's happening in Ukraine and whether East Ukraine will become like independent states, right? It's not just about sovereignty and territory. It's also about the entire geopolitical order and the financial order, right? Because we see that Russia is actually start to pack her own currency to hard commodities like oil, like gold, right? So we see there are global instability happening right now. So this global instability will mean that stock market is not going to do too well this year. Right? It will like fluctuate up and down. Just like just like 2018 and 2019 when Donald Trump is doing the trade war, the stock market wasn't doing that well in 2018 and 2019. So if we have this like ongoing geopolitical crisis that's not going to end very soon, stock market will not do very well. So based on the first scenario, right, Bitcoin, which is a proxy for stock market, will not do too well soon. I'm not saying that it will crash. Right? It will not crash because crash only happens when there's a massive deflationary pressure, like running out of liquidity. We don't see that happening. In fact, we're having inflation right now rather than deflation. So we will not have a crash, but I'm saying is that like money will likely stay away from risk assets based on the scenario one where Bitcoin is a proxy for risk assets like stocks in general, right? So that's scenario one. But I think we are more likely to move towards scenario two. So what is scenario two exactly, right? So scenario two is that Bitcoin will diverge away from the stock market and it's going to behave like a independent asset, more like a sanction proof asset. What do I mean by sanction proof asset? And remember, Bitcoin is created by Satoshi Nakamoto, right? Whether it's an individual or a group, we don't know. But is designed outside the system. Right? The main intention of the Bitcoin is to survive and prosper outside any centralized system. So we're having a very interesting paradox here, where Bitcoin, which is actually supposed to be a to be a currency and be an asset outside the mainstream system, but the main forces, the main cheerleaders of the Bitcoin today are actually going in a different direction, right? They are pushing Bitcoin towards institutional recognition. So these are entirely two different paths, right? Because if you think about it, if you want if you want to get if you want Bitcoin to get more recognized by institutions such as the stock market exchange or the sovereign wealth fund or asset managers who are actually managing pension funds, right? You have to you are very you are moving in the direction that is very closer to state control, right? This means that Bitcoin will have more regulation, because only when you have more regulation, you can have more recognition, right? So Bitcoin has been for the past 2 to 3 years has been going in the opposite direction, right? It's pushing towards the recognition from the centralized authority. Yeah. The reason for doing that is to have quick market cap appreciation, right? Because the people who have political power today have the most capital, right? So think of it, right? The government, the government has the ability to control and set rules on the asset market, right? Only when the government gives green light, and when the government gives green light, you see that this institutional money, they are more willing to put or invest into the asset, because if government doesn't give green lights, right, they can just issue and impose fines on those asset managers. So their asset managers are entirely dependent on government giving the green light for Bitcoin as an investment instrument. So that has been the game in the past, but with ongoing financial warfare between United States and Russia, it's going to create a different narrative, right? So other small countries in Africa, in Asia, Central Asia or Africa or Middle East are going to look at this in a different way, right? Because if Russia's assets can be confiscated or frozen, this means that no other countries are truly safe, right? If you are a sovereign wealth fund managing money for a small African country or a Middle Eastern or a rich country, right? Then you have assets in Euro and United States, right? So you're going to look at this in a different way. Right? I probably want to have some of my money in Bitcoin. So this will create a bullish momentum for Bitcoin in that aspect. However, but we have to think of it in two ways, right? If countries outside the United States, especially non-Western countries, are looking for Bitcoin as a way to hedge against future possible sanctions, because if you own Bitcoin, it cannot be confiscated. We know that. So if non-Western countries, like especially the small countries, they're looking into Bitcoin as a hedge against sanctions. This means that from the United States point of view, right, United States government is not going to look at Bitcoin in a very favorable way, right? Because it's going to see Bitcoin as some sort of enemy. It's going to have more regulation, more control on cryptocurrency in general. So in the future, I think like we're going to see a sovereign money outside United States, especially non-Western countries, moving into Bitcoin, while at the same time, United States will clamp down on Bitcoin. Right? This will means that actually institutional money in United States will be at some time forced to sell their Bitcoin. Because they will be under the government pressure to sell their Bitcoin, while sovereign wealth fund outside the United States, especially in all Western countries, are going to increase their position size in Bitcoin. So if you do the math and calculation, sovereign wealth fund or sovereign money, they have the most money in the world in asset management. So much more, I would say they are the entire world's the entire money management industry outside United States, controlled by sovereign wealth funds. They are probably more influential or have a bigger position size than the existing institutional investor in United States, right? Because after all, United States is only around like 20% of the around 20% of the global GDP, right? So it's only the money outside the United States is actually bigger than the money inside the United States. So I think overall, if Bitcoin as a sanction-proof asset, that narrative comes becoming that narrative becomes more and more dominant, we're going to see Bitcoin going really, really high, right? Possibly like more than 100K, more than 150K this year, right? Because I see scenario two as more and more likely rather than scenario one. Scenario one is the old status quo, right? Bitcoin is just like a tech stock, right? Maybe like people look at it as Tesla, but it's not really the case, right? Bitcoin is as a sanction-proof asset, right? So if you're a country like Kazakhstan or Nigeria, for example, just a random country, if you have money in another country, like if you keep euro, you keep dollar, or any other currency in another country, it's not yours. You can say that it's not yours until, or maybe I should say the other way. It is yours until it becomes not yours, right? Because you don't really control the money, right? Because when you have money in another bank, in another country's bank, right? So it can be taken from you one day if they choose to, right? So I think scenario two will be very, very bullish for Bitcoin. I think this is one of the way how Bitcoin will reach new high this year for the year 2022. Do you agree with my analysis? You can drop down your in the comment section.